Once we are done with our configuration for TSPL or laser, in case we have a Nanophraser Explore version, we have to move towards the geometry. In the geometry tab, we can see we have a main importer and some advanced tools. Now we will focus on the main importer and how we effectively import files in the most simple way. So in case we want to import a design or a geometry, well, we can see that we can import both JPEG files, JPG, PNG, but also files that we can design. In this case, we have a KLayout format, so GDS files. For the sake of simplicity, let's open a simple design. Let's make it a Mona Lisa, which is a PNG file. Actually, sorry, JPEG file. So we can see that once we have imported it, we can see the source of the image. We can also save it in case it's necessary. We have some initial image editing functionalities that may help you in slightly modifying your designs in case it can be even closer to what you want to obtain, and maybe it can be more useful in 3D applications or grayscale. So we can see that we can, for example, invert the black and whites. We can make the image 2D, changing the threshold of the blacks. And we can also quantize, so introducing a discrete number of gray levels in our image. Let's say we can do 5, and you see that it's not 2D anymore, but we only have 5 different depths. Also, when we import an image, we can see its 3D view to have a better understanding of how the pattern is supposed to look like. And we can also see, in this case, we have 5 discrete levels of our Mona Lisa in the depth profile of our design. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the levels that we observe. And we can also see the expected, say, topography of our design here, which can be automatic or can be moved up and down, changing a little bit the contrast. And this is the same thing that we can do and manipulate when seeing the topographies that are being read by the Nanophraser. So in this case, let's keep our original Mona Lisa, which is nicer and better looking this way. We can do other geometry transformation, such as flipping horizontally and vertically. We can scale the image, so we can scale it in this case on both sizes, X and Y, but we can also decide to unlock and just scale on one direction. So we'll have a slightly thinner or a slightly larger Mona Lisa. Maybe Leonardo is not going to be very happy. So yeah, for this specific example, I just keep a normal Mona Lisa, and we can also see that we can rotate the image by a specific angle, so we can either increase it 1 degree by 1 degree or just input a specific value, let's say 30. So yeah, in case we want to rotate our designs, this can be also an option. Let's uncheck this box. Once we are quite happy with our transformation, we can see that we can do further changes in our geometry. But first of all, we have to choose what we are using our layout for. Is it a TSPL or a laser use? So in this case, let's say we want to do a TSPL. And one thing that's important to remember is that the TSPL usually requires a much smaller pixel size. This is the default pixel size in X and Y for the laser, which has a spot of around 500 to 600 nanometers. But for TSPL, we usually have a default value of 20 nanometers on X and Y. Because of course the tip of the of our cantilever at its apex is much smaller than the laser spot. You can also see that we can change the scan angle. In this case it's 0. Sometimes it can be useful for a specific design to change it. So in this case, you see we will scan in this direction. And yeah, we can also change the right pixel or right white pixel function. In this case, it's not very visible. Maybe you can quickly import a design that has some white pixels, such as yeah, this wheel is perfectly fine. You see clearly that there are some white pixels in this image. If I cross these right white pixels, these pixels are all going to be written. So everything that's within the writing field is going to be written. So it becomes gray. And you see the depth now is 15 nanometers for this gray. And of course we can then further manipulate this picture in the same way. But for the sake of art, let's go back to our Mona Lisa and import successfully the Mona Lisa. So you see that there are no white pixels in this image, so this function does not really show much. Ultimately, we can also change the repeated settings function. So in case we want to make an array of Mona Lisa, let's say we have a spacing of 25 by 50, and we make an array. If we change the spacing, of course, in Y we will have a different repeated functionality. Once we are finally happy with our design, we can add it as a layout. In this case, we have selected TSPL, so it will be imported as a TSPL layout. So layout TSPL. In case we want to import a laser layout, say common laser layout is a 2D pattern. So let's say we want to import this arrow. Same thing, we can go through these settings and change whatever we want. So let's say we want to make it a little bit larger because it's laser, so let's make it 10 times larger. And we also want to maybe remove these grays that we don't really like for our design. This is a PNP file, so it's not really optimized for writing, but it's just a design that's useful for showing some stuff. So we can do some changes on these images, like putting a 2D so that we remove these sort of artifacts that are created when we import it. So we see the dimension of the design is around 50 by 50. It's a good dimension for the laser. And we can make larger pixel sizes. Let's say 150, 150. This also increases the dimension of our design. We will see later also the difference between importing a JPG file and a GDS file. So now let's go back to smaller dimensions. And we can see that for the laser we can also choose the power at which we're writing. So let's say we want to write with 120 milliwatt, for example. Previously we did this laser dose test, so we see that this was at 50, 100, 150 and 200 milliwatt. So for 120 milliwatt we should be able to write on our sample. And again we can do also a repeated functionality, but in this case we're happy, so we add it as a new layout with laser. So we have two layouts now, we're happy with it, and we can already move towards the session to try to write these designs.